Welcome to the deep dive. Lots of you have sent in sources talking about inflation, how it's hitting your wallets day to day.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's exactly what we're digging into today. We've got your articles, your notes right here.
hmm
Our mission, really, is pretty simple. Cut through the noise, figure out why your money feels like it's, evaporating,
Right.
and more importantly, give you some real strategies, some actual things you can do about it.
Exactly. And the sources you sent really highlight a few key things happening. We need to look at that gap, often a pretty big gap, between the official inflation numbers
Yeah, the ones they announce.
and the real hit you feel paying for, well, everything. Groceries, rent, you name it.
Okay.
Then we'll dig into why wages haven't really kept up and what that actually means for, like, your buying power.
Makes sense.
And finally, yeah, pivot to concrete steps, things you can actually do to, push back a bit. It's about getting past just understanding the problem
Right, not just complaining about it.
and actually taking some control back over your finances.
Okay, let's jump right in then. Part one,
Mhm.
the squeeze. Just how much is this inflation really pinching?
Yeah.
The official Canadian rate for 2024 was around, what, 3.1%?
Yeah, hovered around 3.1%. Now, on paper, maybe that doesn't sound like, the end of the world.
Doesn't sound too bad.
But here's where the sources get really interesting and honestly a bit worrying. When you look at what you actually spend money on day in, day out,
Yeah.
the story is totally different.
Okay, how so?
Your sources lay it out pretty clearly. Take food, okay? Groceries.
Okay.
Just in the last 3 years, costs have shot up by about 25%.
25%. Wow.
Yeah. Think about that. For every, say, $80 you used to spend at the supermarket,
Wow.
you now need $100
Yeah.
just to buy the same stuff. It's like a silent pay cut, right? Hits everyone.
A silent pay cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And if you're renting, say, in Gatineau, your sources mention this specifically,
Yeah.
average rents there soared by a massive 40% since just 2020.
40%. Good grief.
That kind of jump in housing costs, it just traps people, even if they're trying hard to earn more.
It makes it impossible to get ahead.
Exactly. And even something basic like car insurance. Statistic Canada says it jumped 12% just in 2024.
12% in 1 year. For something most people have to have,
Mm-hmm.
it really does make that 3.1% official number look kind of disconnected, doesn't it?
It does. And one of your sources had this line that really hit home for me. You're working for less without even realizing it.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. That nails it. That feeling that you're just, running faster to stay in the same
Or
place.
even falling behind.
Yeah.
Precisely. And the bigger picture, the economic data, it backs this up. Bank of Canada figures show the median salary, it's only gone up about 2.5% per year recently.
Only 2.5%.
Yeah. Compare that to prices for essentials going up 5%, sometimes more. The math is, well, it's pretty simple.
Your buying power is shrinking, plain and simple.
It is.
So, okay, let's make that super concrete. Like someone earning, say, $50,000 a year back in 2020.
Okay.
Based on what your sources are showing, by 2024, how much have they effectively lost?
Well, based on those trends, they've lost somewhere between like $4,000 and $6,000 in real value.
$4,000 to $6,000 just vanished.
Just vanished because stuff costs more. That's a big chunk of their earnings gone. Poof.
Wow.
And to really hammer this home, think about your grocery run. One source used this great analogy.
Okay.
Picture a standard grocery basket, right? Back in 2019, maybe $100 fills it up.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Fast forward to 2025, that same basket, it's projected to cost you about $131.
What? 31 from 100.
Yep, that's a 31% drop in what your food budget actually buys you.
31% less food for the same money, basically.
Ouch! Think about your own trips to the store.
Exactly.
Were you noticing that? Spending more, but the bags don't seem any fuller.
It's that frustrating feeling, right? Your money just doesn't stretch like it used to. Totally. Okay, so we've got a clear picture of the pressure. It's real.
Very real.
So the big question is, what can you actually do? How do you regain some control?
Right. And that's where the second part of your sources comes in. Shifting focus to practical strategies. Actionable stuff.
Okay, good. Let's hear.
The very first recommendation, get a handle on your, what they call your invisible budget.
Visible budget. I like that. What does that actually mean?
It basically means all those little expenses, the ones you don't really think about, maybe they're automatic or just small purchases here and there.
Uh-huh.
But over time, they add up
Yeah.
a lot. So the first step is track everything. Every single penny you spend. for about 30 days.
Track everything for a month.
That just shines a light, you know? Shows you where the money's really going beyond the big stuff like rent or the mortgage.
Yeah, I get that. It's those, like, daily coffees, the streaming service you forgot about, the impulse buy online.
Exactly. They slip under the radar, but add them all up and boom.
It's a chunk of change. Did the sources mention any tools, apps or something?
They did, yeah. For listeners in Canada, they suggested apps like Keho, Hard Bacon, Mint Canada's still around.
Okay.
And for folks in the US, YNU, that's You Need a Budget and Rocket Money are really popular and effective.
YNAB, yeah, I've heard of that one.
The main point here, and one source put it really well, you can't improve what you don't measure.
Sure.
Many people are losing anywhere from $200 to $400 every month on these invisible purchases.
$200 to $400 a month, just gone.
Just gone without really noticing. That's money you could be using elsewhere just by being more aware.
Okay, so step one, know where the money's going. Makes total sense. Step two, then, in fighting back.
Yeah.
The sources talked about increasing income.
Yeah, exactly. But importantly, without necessarily having to like quit your job and find a new one.
Oh, okay. That sounds more manageable for a lot of people.
It is. And the sources gave some really practical, totally legit ways to make some extra cash.
What?
Well, selling stuff you don't need anymore, using something like Facebook Marketplace, it's pretty easy to get started.
Right. Declutter and make money. How much are we talking, realistically?
Well, the sources suggested an average of maybe $300 to $500 a month is doable for many people.
300 to 500. That's actually pretty significant just from selling old stuff.
Yeah. And then there's using skills you already have, like offering microservices on platforms like Fiverr.
Fiverr. What kind of services?
Things like writing, translation help, maybe some basic graphic design. If you're consistent, the potential is there for maybe $1,000 a month.
$1,000. Wow, okay. That takes more effort, obviously.
Sure, it takes effort in building up a bit of a reputation, but it's possible. Or online tutoring.
Tutoring.
Yeah, if you're good at French or math or English, you could earn up to maybe $30 an hour doing that online.
These all sound like things people can actually do, right?
Yeah.
Using skills they might already have.
Exactly. It shifts the focus. It's not just about cutting back, cutting back, cutting back.
Right, not just deprivation.
It's about actively bringing more money in. And one source had this great line.
Yeah.
The problem isn't obsessing over the price of your morning coffee. It's the lack of a plan B to generate more money.
Plan B. I like that framing. It's about adding, not just subtracting.
Precisely. I mean, watching the small stuff helps, sure. But just focusing only on that can feel kind of limiting.
And maybe doesn't make a huge difference overall.
Exactly. Adding an income stream can be way more impactful and, frankly, more empowering when costs are rising like this.
Okay, empowering. I like that.
Yeah.
So track spending, boost income. What about the money you already have? Your savings. How do you stop inflation from just eating away at that?
Right. Crucial point. This is where smart saving and investing come in.
Okay.
For Canadian listeners, the advice is definitely use your TFSA, that tax-free savings account, or CELI in French.
Right, tax-free growth.
Exactly. And inside that TFSA, putting money into diversified index funds, things like VFV or XEQT were mentioned, basically baskets of stocks, so you're not putting all your eggs in one place.
Got it. Diversification. What about U.S. listeners?
Similar idea. A Roth IRA is great for tax advantages, and broad market ETFs like VTI or SPY give you that diversification across the U.S. market.
So investing for the longer term? But what about just like cash savings, money you might need sooner?
Good question. It's not just about long-term investing. You need to make your short-term savings work harder too.
Yeah.
Your sources pointed to high-yield savings accounts. In Canada, places like Neo, EQ Bank, Wealth Simple Save were mentioned. They pay much better interest than your standard checking account.
Which pays basically nothing.
Exactly nothing, 0%. And one source put it very bluntly. If your money is simply sitting in a 0% interest checking account, you're essentially watching it die a slow death.
Oof. Die a slow death. That's stark.
But it's true. Even with official inflation at 3%, your money sitting there is losing 3% of its value every year, slowly getting eroded.
So step one there is just move your savings somewhere that actually pays some interest, ideally something close to inflation.
Ideally, yes. At least try to keep pace. It seems like a basic step, but so many people don't do it.
Okay, fundamental.
Yeah.
Got it. Lastly then, strategies for cutting the big expenses.
Yeah, and this is often where you can find the biggest savings.
Yeah.
The advice is shift your focus. Stop nickel and diming the small stuff so much.
Like agonizing over catch-up prices.
Exactly. And focus instead on your major costs. Think about the percentage you can save, not just a few dollars here and there.
Okay, percentage savings on big items. Give us
Yeah.
some examples. Where can people usually find those big wins?
Sure. Electricity bill, installing a smart thermostat, potential savings. Around 15% on heating and cooling costs, that adds up.
15%? Okay, that's significant,
Housing, it's usually the biggest expense, right?
for sure.
So exploring options like maybe getting a roommate, co-living, subletting a spare room if you have one, that can save hundreds potentially every month.
Big savings there. What else?
Car insurance, we mentioned it went up.
Yeah, 12%.
Well, don't just automatically renew. Take an hour, shop around every year, compare quotes. The sources suggest you could potentially save up to $800 a year doing that.
$800 just for shopping around?
Potentially, yeah. Rates vary a lot between companies.
Okay, those are the kinds of savings that really make a difference, aren't they? Compared to skipping a coffee.
Totally. It underlines that point from the sources. Being overly concerned about the price of ketchup is okay, but saving $100 per month on your rent is 10 times more effective.
Focus your energy where it counts most.
Exactly. Be strategic about where you put your effort to save money. Focus on the big wins.
Okay, this is super practical, so let's pull it all together. If someone's listening right now, feeling that squeeze, what's the immediate action plan? Like, what should they do starting today or tomorrow?
Okay, the key first steps based on everything we've covered. 1, commit to tracking. Track every expense for the next 30 days. Get that clear picture of your invisible budget.
30 days of tracking. Got it.
2, start exploring a side hustle, a small secondary income stream. Even if you only dedicate, say, 2 focused hours a week to start, just get it rolling.
Start small, but start. Okay.
3, move your savings. Get that cash out of any zero or super low interest accounts. Put it in a high-yield savings account or consider those investment options we talked about if it's longer-term money. Take action now.
Don't let it just sit there losing value.
Right. And 4, look hard at your big recurring expenses. Housing, transport, insurance, even subscriptions. Really question them and look for ways to cut back significantly.
Reevaluate the big stuff.
Those
Now,
4 things are a really strong start.
so the big message here, it seems, is you can't be passive, right? Your money is losing value unless you actively do something.
That's the reality, yes.
It's not about, like, panicking or making crazy changes overnight.
No, not at all.
It's more about making consistent, smart moves to protect yourself and maybe even get ahead a little.
Exactly. One source put it nicely. Start managing your money like a business.
Like a business. How so?
Well, be really aware of what's coming in, what's going out. Actively look for ways to increase revenue or income and protect your assets, your savings from those things, trying to steal it away. Those invisible thieves.
Invisible thieves.
Right.
Like inflation.
Inflation, yeah. High interest debt and just doing nothing. Inaction is a thief, too.
Inaction. Yeah, that's a powerful thought. Okay, this has been incredibly helpful, really practical stuff.
Good, I hope so.
Now, thinking about everything we've covered, at this connect between official inflation and real life, all these strategies.
Yeah.
Here's maybe a final thought for people to chew on after we wrap up.
Okay.
Thinking beyond just your bank account, where else in your life might this kind of the gap between the official story and your actual experience, where else might that be having a big impact? Maybe one you haven't fully noticed yet.
That's a really interesting question to reflect on. Goes beyond just the dollars and cents.
Yeah, something to think about.
Definitely. Well, thank you for really diving into this today. It's crucial information.
Absolutely, and thank you for breaking it down so clearly. We genuinely hope this deep dive gives everyone listening some clarity, but also, some real actionable steps to start taking back control.